Bronx for me is the most beautiful place on earth, right? I am so happy for my upbringing here in the BX and everything that my family, that my mom was able to do for me to be who I am.
Welcome to the show, Amaurys, Grullon, the co-founder of Bronx Native, one of the most influential cultural brands to come out of New York City in the recent past. Born and raised in the Bronx, Amaurys grew up surrounded by a borough often misrepresented by the mainstream media, but instead of escaping, he chose to magnify its beauty.
I'm just a kid from the Bronx, right? People in Manhattan, people in Brooklyn, still thinking that, the Bronx is this. I used to get asked, hey, have you ever been shot? Are you okay? I used to be like, I'm from the Bronx. They'd be like, nah, you're not from the Bronx, bro. Get out of here.
And I don't think anybody that isn't from here can understand the pride that you say you're from the Bronx. My partner still jokes with me. He's like, how many people have you killed? And I'm like, he was out here for the last couple of days. Nobody. Welcome to another episode of the Real Mentors Podcast. Real, as always, stands for Real Examples Altering Lives. I'm your host, Sean Martin. Today in studio, I got none other than the Bronx Native, a.k.a. Amaurys Grullon, the co-founder of Bronx Native, one of the most influential cultural brands to come out of New York City in the recent past. Born and raised in the Bronx, Amaurys grew up surrounded by a borough often misrepresented by the mainstream media, but instead of escaping, he chose to magnify its beauty. Bronx Native began as apparel, but quickly evolved into a cultural movement, embodying the raw energy, history, and pride of the Bronx. Amaurys turned a small shop into a community hub for artists, entrepreneurs, and storytellers. His work has been recognized nationally for changing the narrative around the borough and redefining what it means to represent where you are from. Welcome to the show, my brother.
Yeah.
You already know.
You got to start it the right way, brother. Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is incredible.
My pleasure, man. It's been a long time coming. I've been a fan since I jumped back on social media just a couple years ago. Admittedly, I have not been to the shop, but I'm going today.
Gotta come by.
I'm gonna go spend some money over there.
Yes.
We did this dance a little bit, but we weren't able to get together until you popped in on our last recording, and here we are.
You're ready.
But everything happens exactly when it's supposed to.
Facts.
Amaurys, tell us a little bit about you. I mean, I know you are a master of branding, you are a master of content creation, and you are a master of putting the Bronx on the map.
Yes, sir.
But my biggest question for you when we met today was, I don't really know who you are. So tell us about you, where you grew up, how you grew up, and then we'll go from there.
No, love that, brother. First of all, before I start, just want to give you your flowers. You already know, y'all doing y'all thing with this podcast. I see that you have a book. You already know, Beyond the Bronx. And that's what it's all about, right? Coming together, creating a platform for all of us to have conversations and just learn from each other, get inspired, get empowered. So thank you again for having me, brother.
My pleasure.
So who am I, right? I'm Amaurys Grullon. You know what I mean? A lot of people ask me this question, of course, and I always started with the same answer. I'm just a kid from the Bronx, right? Born and raised here, Longwood, Hunts Point, and I was raised in the early '90s out here in the boogie down Bronx, and a lot of people talk about the Bronx, they highlight the negative, they highlight the struggle, and yes, that was there. You know what I mean? I was raised in a Section 8 apartment. Low income, single mom. Me and my sister. You know what I mean? That struggle was there. But honestly, the Bronx for me is the most beautiful place on earth. Right? I am so happy for my upbringing here in the BX and everything that my family, that my mom was able to do for me to be who I am and, do what I do, right? So, yes, man, my family was a Pentecostal, household, de la cabeza a los pies, you already know the vibes. Shout out all my Pentecostals out there, and shout out the G.O.D., let go, let God out here, bruh. So, I was raised in a Pentecostal household. I went to PA62 public school on Southern Boulevard. And from a very, very early age, I already had that creative mindset, right? I always knew I wanted to be in the arts. I wanted to express myself, and I had the talent to draw, right? So everywhere I was drawing here. I was in the back of the classrooms drawing, back of the church drawing. I remember I used to like get commissions as a little kid, like, yo, draw me this picture, and I wasn't even that good, in the start, but practice makes perfect. And so that was my thing. And I always knew in the back of my head, like, yo, I want to be an artist. And then on the other side, my dad, he was from the Heights, right? And then, my dad's a hustler and he was an entrepreneur, right? And he had his own business where you play pool, you know what I mean? Those like secret spots. It used to be called La Cueva, right? Which is the cave. And I remember every Sunday going to and seeing that type of lifestyle, him being a self-made person, having his own business and just maneuvering in that environment. And it was fire, And then, I come back home and I'm going to church, you know what I mean? I'm doing a lot of community work, right? We're giving out food to the community. So, those moments really shaped me, from being a creative, seeing and my mom being a giver and a community person, and then also seeing my dad as an entrepreneur and making it happen in our communities, right? And I like to always, refer back to those moments to where I kind of subconsciously created my narrative and my career. Like, hey, this is what I want to be. I want to be a creative. I want to be an entrepreneur, and I want to give back, right? And that's exactly what we're doing. But yeah, no, beautiful life, P62. Then I went to St. Ignatius in Hunts Point, a small Jesuit school. Shout out to them over there. You already know. Then I went to Cardinal Hayes, up Hayes and always Loyal Men. Best school out here. Can't tell me nothing. On Grand Concourse, you already know. And then after high school, that was when I was like, okay, what am I going to do? How, what's going to be the next step? I went to Bronx Community College. I know that's your alma mater as well. Shout out to them. Shout out to CUNY. And, that was an incredible time for me as well. I was able to get the skill sets needed for me to really find myself. But I feel like when I went to after I graduated Bronx Community College, I went to the School of Visual Arts, top art school in the city, Flatiron District. And that was when I really, really dove in. I was able to go downtown and really see the perspective and the narrative that people had about the Bronx. Because my whole life I was kind of really here, even though I traveled here, I traveled there. But going downtown, like, wow, people in Manhattan, people in Brooklyn still thinking that, the Bronx is this, I used to get asked, hey, have you ever been shot? Are you okay? Like, I used to be like, yo, I'm from the Bronx. They'd be like, nah, you're not from the Bronx, bro. Get out of here. Like, that. Like, I was like, bro, what is this? And I was in a crossroads, and that's when I said, okay, I'm really going to dive into my foundation, my upbringing, and I'm going to really showcase my home the right way. And that's where, Bronx Native started and my entrepreneurship journey and my creative journey when it comes to creating design with a mission, with passion and making sure we change the narrative here with whatever we do. But yeah, man, I've always been somebody who's outgoing. I've always been somebody who's optimistic, somebody who always wants more, right? I'm a firm believer in that phrase, more is more. And I'm always trying to redefine. I'm always trying to push the pendulum. And I'm always trying to think outside the box, right? Because a lot of the stuff, and I say this a lot, growing up in communities like ours, we're kind of like in a box sometimes. And it's about shifting that mindset and thinking outside the box. Yes, I can do it. Yes, I could be an entrepreneur. Yes, I could become wealthy. Yes, I could become a creative, an artist, and I could do that in the Bronx, right? So yeah, that's how I got a little spiel, a little summary of kind of like my journey.
That's beautiful. So your pops is Dominican?
Yes, yeah.
Right,
my dad and my mom.
Two Puerto Rican Dominicans raised by single moms.
Yeah.
My pops wasn't around. I didn't get to see him until I was 18, and then we both graduated Bronx Community College.
Yo,
so
we got a lot in
common. We're actually getting to know each other today. It's the first time we really sit down with each other, even though I've watched from afar and vice versa. Thank you for the kind words as well.
Thank you, bro.
I'm really moved by you, and we talked off camera about the fact that my journey was different. Mm-hmm. I left and I exploded and I blew up and I did all these things, and then I decided to come back.
Nice.
But the reason that I did so was because I needed to find peace.
Yes.
The last apartment I had here in the Bronx was dope. We had like the 9th floor, big windows overlooking Marshallou Parkway, Bronx Zoo, greenest part of the Bronx. But you go downstairs, you're still stepping in Pitbull shit.
Yeah.
Somebody is still blasting their music at 5 a.m. because they fucked up coming from the club and everybody's partying with them and you know, regardless of you sleeping. And my car got broke into like 3-4 times in the couple years I lived there. So I was just like moved to leave. I thought I had outgrown it. But why I honor you is because you didn't take that route. But we did talk about the fact that you've experienced some of what I talked about and what I feared and why I left. Let's talk about that. I mean, we call it, you know, gatekeeping, but there's also the crabs in the barrel mentality. And I think when people haven't seen some success, they are more inclined to bring you down to what they understand than to keep pushing you to go out and find another reality that you can bring back to everybody else. What's been your experience with that as an entrepreneur and as a cultural and brand ambassador for the entire borough?
Yeah, man. You know, it's, the journey is always going to have ups and downs, high highs, low lows. But yeah, man, that's something that very early on in the beginning of, I would say, Bronx Native, when I started, which was around 2015, 2016, you know, we already felt that pushback a little bit, you know what I mean? And, you know, I come from this community, I come from this environment. So, you know, I understand in a way the systematic way of life, you know, the history, you know, the pinning against each other and the survival, right? We've all come from that. We've all come from the struggle. So there's that competitiveness. There's that like, hey, wait, he's doing this? You know what I mean? And that's a reflection. Why am I not doing this? You know what I mean? And then that turns into something else. So yeah, you know, I felt, you know, from gatekeepers, from, you know, old heads that's been doing this, you know, from different environments and different layers. And I've always tackled it, of course, with optimism, you know, with love and with passion, and just always making sure that I'm focused on the end goal, right? Because when you get involved with the little things, with the you know, social media, you know, things that really don't matter, that's gonna distract you. And I'm a firm believer that my energy is precious, my energy is incredible, and I'm gonna direct that energy into positivity and things that are gonna gain me the things that I want, right? And are gonna direct me to the goals and dreams that I wanna have. But yeah, man, you know, that's something that I feel like as entrepreneurs in general, we all gotta go through those things. And it does hurt when your community is in a way, you know, the one that's pulling you down at times, you know, not to say that the amount of love, the amount of, you know, sometimes I walk down the street and I'm just in awe. You know, I'm like, this is incredible. Like, you know, people, oh man, I started my first business because of you. Man, I love what you're doing to keep, you know what I mean? People from outside of the Bronx that used to live in the Bronx, man, you're continuing to show us what the Bronx looks like. We love your page, you know? So the amount of love is there. But when you get that love, when you get that recognition, when you get that clout, when you get, you know what I mean, that acknowledgement, that also comes with the other side of that, right? How everything, you know, is a duality thing, right? The yin and yang, right? If you got one thing, you're gonna get the other thing, you know, no matter what. And you know, it's about being receptive. You know, at first, it did, you know, affect me like, wow, man, like my own peeps, you know what I mean? It be your own peeps all the time, bro. Your own people, bro. And you know, it does discourage you at times, and it does make you feel some type of way. But you know, to be an entrepreneur, you have to be cut from a different cloth. You know what I mean? You have to be comfortable in that struggle. You got to be comfortable in your uncomfortability. And I'm always like, yo, I want all the smoke, bro. Give it to me, bro. Because I know that after that storm has ended, bro, I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to be smarter. I'm going to be better. You know what I mean? And isn't that what life is about, right? No pressure, no diamond, you know, give me everything. If we don't go through certain things, we're not going to get to certain spaces. So I take everything and you know, I maneuver as well as I can. You know, I feel like I've been doing a great job. with that and just making it happen. But yeah, bro, that's what it is. And I have seen peeps that have left the Bronx, make it happen, and then come back. And I feel like those peeps get more love in a way, like, yo, he's incredible, you know what I mean? He's this and that. But even we get that as well, but it's a little different when you stay here, you know what I mean? And there's different levels of fulfillment. Cause for me, honestly, the fact that I am still here, right? I'm a couple blocks away from Cardinal Hayes, where I went to high school. I'm still here in Hunts Point, right?
Go ahead.
So,
go ahead.
I mean, essentially, what we're talking about is our community has a scarcity mindset.
Yes.
There's another saying. There's a million sayings, and I've changed my life on cliches and quotes and sayings.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's your glass is half full.
Yeah.
It's always half full.
Yeah.
And a motherfucker may pour a little too much out to get you to a place where for a moment it feels like it's half empty.
Yeah.
But your default, your nature is half full.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes from, if I'm not mistaken, from love.
Yeah.
And from moms.
From love, from moms, I would say,
and from being a service in the church,
for being a
community.
service, for being a creative, and bro, from my upbringing, from what I've seen, from what I've heard, and what better thing, you know what I mean, than love, than to do things from passion, and that's something that a lot of us have lost, and as we go on, it gets lost more and more and more. You see what's going on everywhere right now in the world, and we have to come back to that. And it can sound a little corny or a little this and that.
No, it's not. I always say,
but
change the world, don't let it change you.
Yeah,
and people like yourself. People like myself, people like Flo, people like whomever, they just carry themselves with a certain energy that they can be the light.
Yeah.
Now, equally, if we let that go astray, we could be fucking miserable.
We could be a villain too. What's up?
Correct.
We could do both.
We can turn that energy, but through the mastery of actually taking the chance on yourself, starting that business, not really knowing what you're gonna do.
Yes.
Because I'm a hustler.
Yes.
At the end of the day, you say, I'm a kid from the Bronx. And I've been trying to change that narrative because when I start with I'm a kid from the Bronx, it still holds on to that story of I'm that kid from the Bronx. But you know what it is? It's the pride. And I don't think anybody that isn't from here can understand
That's true.
the pride that you say you're from the Bronx. My partner still jokes with me. He's like, how many people have you killed? And I'm like, he was out here for the last couple of days. Nobody,
buddy.
But I mean, just driving around and this dude's from the Midwest, he's like, every time, like, I think you're going to get in an accident because like we just on each other like this. And that's just how we drive. It's just a different
That's
world.
where we at, bro. You know what I mean? I live on the edge, you know what I mean? And I love it. And it's this city, this city, the mindset that this city puts you on, bro. Like I go all over the world. I go to other cities and it's not like the hustle mentality, the rawness, just the ability to go out there and solve any problem, no matter how, you know what I mean? And create something that's this small into this big. It's one of the most incredible things in the world. And that's why I say, the city is the best city in the world. The Bronx is the best borough in the world, the best place in the world. And it's incredible, to have all those, like, be part of your identity and to showcase that to the world and the world acknowledging it and being inspired by it and seeing that it's like no other, man. So I'm happy about that.
And let's talk about the Bronx Native shop because you set up roots here and it all started with a physical location where you're selling merch and Bronx-based merch, but you are literally an international brand ambassador for this borough.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk a little bit about how you grew from a store to where you are now. And then after that, obviously, I want to talk about the vision for the future and where, you want to take this thing.
What we doing? No, definitely, bro. So yeah, bro. So we started around 2015. It was me and my sister, Rosalind Grullon, and it started with a conversation, right? We were saying like, hey, man, we want to wear Bronx-based merchandise, right? And we couldn't find it. We were looking online, Bronx merch, Bronx shirts, Bronx this, right? Nothing. All we saw was Brooklyn merch, Harlem merch. I love NY merch. And it was just no Bronx merch, and we said, how is this even possible? You know, the Bronx, birthplace of hip hop, birthplace of salsa, such a diverse borough. You know, so authentic, so gritty, so incredible. Where is the streetwear representation for us in anywhere? And we took it upon ourselves as creatives, as entrepreneurs, as problem solvers to tackle this issue. And it was by creating this brand, right? But ultimately being more than a brand. You know, it wasn't like, hey, we're just gonna make a shirt, we're gonna put our logo on a shirt, and that's it. You know what I mean?
So
It's
even
just
in
like,
the early days when
Yeah.
you started, you know, I'm guessing screen printing or whatever, so you could do your
Yeah.
own thing.
Yeah.
There was a bigger vision
yes, yeah.
in mind.
From the very beginning, we said this is gonna be a community-based brand. This is gonna be a brand that tackles issues that we go through on a day-to-day basis.
Now,
And-
what's the early days look like in terms of you going from just a creative with an idea to now I got to get a storefront? Did you have seed money?
Yeah.
Did you have to work with the landlord? Because I really want to talk to our people who maybe are inspired by you and want to start, but they don't know where to.
Yeah.
And they may think that shit is going to be a smooth road, which you and I know better.
Yeah.
So let's dig into the roots of like some of the things you faced in order to even get to the point where you could have a store.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So I remember just a little bit before the store, the year was the beginning of 2016, which was when I had my first Bronx Net interview, right? And it was my first ever being on camera. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know, I think I did okay. You know what I mean? But it's my first time. You know what I mean? So I'm over here like little. You know what I mean? And just talking about the mission and whatever. And I remember right after it was like early January. It was cold. It was snowing outside. And you think about these moments and you're like, damn, everything really does happen for a reason. And like things come into place with a purpose, you know, without even you knowing, you know, we could have an idea, but like things align for you sometimes, you know, and that's why, you know, I am a believer, you know, again, so, you know, I want to thank God and just the powers that be that put us in these spaces. But I remember right after that interview, me and my sister came to this neighborhood, actually, Mott Haven, before it was, you know, before any of these things were
Y'all
here.
still
You know
going to
what I mean?
parole.
You know,
A couple years before that.
the only
They
spot
still
that
got
was
that over
here.
here
Yeah,
or
of
no?
course, bro.
They
Those
still
are
got
those are
parole.
all my friends, bro. They pull up to the shop. They be like, yo, can you hold this for me? Like, I got you, bro. Yo, chill, we gotta cut that out.
Where were you?
My bad,
Where
bro.
were you when I was on parole?
But those are my piece right there, man. You meet a lot of interesting individuals when the parole is right around the corner.
for
You know
sure.
what I mean? Like, bro, I got stories for days, but we're not gonna tap into that. But incredible,
for another
incredible
episode.
human beings. You know what I mean?
Parole stories with
Facts.
Amaurys.
I'm like, holy moly, and I'm over here like, yo, I'm talking to killers and shit. Like, yo, yeah, we outside. No,
Want a
but
shirt?
want a shirt? They be supported though. So shout out to yeah, man. So we came to this neighborhood just because, you know, the only spot that was here was Mott Haven Bar and Grill. Shout out to Rosa Garcia's. So that was the only spot we kind of knew, but we kind of like the energy of this neighborhood kind of attracted us to like, hey, there's actually a space in the Bronx that is actually kind of dope, you know, where creativity flows, where there's events, where there's activations. You know, I didn't really see that growing up in the BX, so that kind of attracted us to this neighborhood. And I remember me and my sister thinking like, yo, we have to go all in with this. Like, this is it. You know what I mean? Half the battle sometimes is figuring out what you're going to do. You know what I mean? Because you got to figure out what are you passionate about? What do you love? You know, what's going to work? You know what I mean? Because sometimes you have something that you love, but it's extremely hard to make it work as a career, as a sustainability situation. But I remember in that moment after that Bronx Net interview, I knew. I was like, this is it. This is it, bro. Like we figured it out. We got it.
What was the feeling?
You know, the feeling was actually a beautiful feeling, man. A feeling of like, we don't have to look anymore. Like, you know, because I'm a creative, so I was doing multiple projects, right? So I was doing photo projects. I was doing films. You know what I mean? I was in school. I was doing illustration. I was doing so many things.
This one felt
like
felt right.
This is it. You know what I mean? The fact that we are expressing ourselves as creatives, right?
I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, so I got the goosebumps.
Yeah, I see you.
You know it when you're doing it.
You know, bro, and that's such an amazing feeling, and again, I feel like it's half the battle at times because it's tough, man. A lot of kids, we go to schools a lot of times and we ask them like, "What do you want to be?" What a lot of people don't know, even in high school, college, they don't know. But for us, we were able to find out something that comes in the intersection of creativity, changing the narrative, and giving back, entrepreneurship, and sustainability. You know what I mean? Imagine doing what you love, creating change, making money, and making a life for yourself. It's incredible, right?
That's the blueprint.
So that's the blueprint right there, right? So I said, this is it, right? So that was 2016. So that year was really like our breakthrough year. Like we really decided, look, we're gonna do three things. We're gonna go to every single event in the Bronx, cultural event, you know what I mean? Because we understood that we had to be locked in to what was going on in our borough. We're gonna go to every single event. We're gonna meet with every person that is somebody. You're a photographer. Let's have coffee. You're doing this. You're from Bronx. You're da. Let's connect. Let's have a conversation. To just get out there, create our network. And then the third thing was we're gonna say yes to every opportunity that came our way. That's on brand, no matter what, right? And that's exactly what we did. So we were just going ham. We were going to pop-ups. We started from our apartment with a little shelf with a couple of little T-shirts. You know what I mean? That was the first struggle, finding a printer, finding production, manufacturers, opening up the online store, creating the branding, creating the visual language of the brand and what we wanted to put out there. So that was all happening around that time. And people were vibing with us. Every event that we used to go to, people used to be like, wow, we needed this. You know what I mean? We need this. We're not even from the Bronx, but we're going to support you because we feel that passion. We feel that love. You know what I mean? And it was beginning to shape up like a movement. Like, wow, like people really like there was really nothing like this, and the way we were doing it. Right. So around that time was also when social media was really popping off. Right. And we really leveraged that, to the full of its potential. So we were on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, heavy. Yo, we outside, we here, da-da-da. We in this restaurant, So at that time, that was kind of like when the influencer market kind of started, right. You know what I mean? So that also, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't
right.
for
That worked
social
in your
media.
favor.
Yeah.
Timing is
timing
very
was
important.
amazing, and us coming with a fresh new eyes, early 20s, coming into the space, a lot of, again, the old heads that they were like, who are these little kids? Like, who are these, you know what I mean? Who are these little kids, doing this and that, you know what I mean? And I'm over here fucking smiling. I'm happy AF. I'm like, yeah, what's up, and also that energy, I'm a firm believer that whatever you put out, you're going to receive that, right? So I'm always putting out incredible energy, good, positive energy, and just coming back to that word, right? Love, putting out that love out there, because there's no more beautiful thing. But so that year we were able to get on incredible platforms. One of the platforms that we got on was the New York Times, right? Wow. Imagine that. We didn't even have to shop yet. We were just doing our thing, going here, going there, social media, you know what I mean? Just doing that groundwork. I remember we used to have a maleta, right? A luggage with all of our merch. We used to take an Uber and we used to do like 2-3 events a day, like the weekend was like, all right, where are we going to vend that? Put a little table, just vending, bro. We were at music.
Are you working at this time, or you just...
So, it was an interesting time for me because that was 2016. So I was a senior at the School of Visual Arts, right?
Okay.
So I was finishing up my bachelor's degree in design. And then, but I also, so before actually Bronx Native, I started Get Studios. So that's a little side note. Get Studios started in 2014. And it was a creative agency, right? So I was already providing multimedia services for clientele, logos, videos, websites. So I was doing that already. And even there, I had a social component because I wanted to help mom and pop shops come to the new digital age and bring them to what was going on now. One of my first clients was a restaurant here in this neighborhood. And it's funny how now that I'm thinking about, like, I was always kind of getting attracted to this neighborhood somehow, maybe a client maybe my Haven Bar and Grill, this event. So I was always kind of like, something was bringing me here. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, and not that I wasn't too far. You know, I'm on Longwood. I'm on the 6th line. So it's literally one express stop away, right? A couple of local stops away. But yeah, bro. So after we got on the New York Times, my landlord, so I guess he had the paper and he saw us on the paper, like me and my sister. You know, the line was, you know, Bronx Native. What was it? Damn, it was like Bronx Native wearing the borough on their sleeve. You know, which is kind of fire. You know, like,
did you take that one?
No. In fact, no, we took that was a quote. You know, New York Times. You know what I mean? We outside. So, you know, and that was New York Times. You know what I mean? And just the way everything happened, so organic. So we weren't like, we didn't have PR. We still don't really necessarily have PR. You know, a lot of the stuff has come organically, and that's how you know we in the right place. You know what I mean? When things just align, and then, but that comes also back to that thing that I said about whatever you put out, you're gonna get that in return. Whatever work you put in, you know what I mean? And I'm a firm, I'm an example of that. So New York Times, my landlord sees the newspaper and goes, yo, call these. He tells like his grandson, like, call these guys. We have a spot here for them to potentially do a pop-up shop, right? And then, bro, I got a DM like, hey, so you guys want to do a pop-up shop in this space? So at that time, the pop-up started in October, right? That whole year we were doing events, right? Just going to events, this, that, but we never had like a physical store to do a pop-up. And I've never worked retail. I've never worked, you know, in a space like that. And they said, bro, come do a pop-up for a week, right? See how it goes, you know? And I was like, fuck it. You know what I mean?
And that's the shop.
This is the shop. 8 years later, we're still here. You know what I mean? So it started as a pop-up, a 2-week pop-up. And after those 2 weeks, we really saw the power. Because, you know, a lot of people also said, why are you opening up a retail? Like, you know what I mean? Everything is e-commerce now, you know.
Opinions are like assholes.
People were, bro, I got everything. Somebody was like, who's going to keep coming to a store that only sells Bronx stuff? Right. You know, I had somebody.
And this was somebody who obviously was really well versed in the sale of retail.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Another person, yo, that's so exclusive.
How important is it to not listen to people who haven't done what it is?
It's extremely important, bro. Especially now more than ever, everyone has an opinion and everyone has a platform to share that opinion.
And not
right?
everybody should
but
have
not
a platform.
Everyone should. And you have to blank them out. I mean, even now, bro, people come in the shop like, yo, you know what you should do? I'm just there like, yeah, come on. Yeah, thank you. Like, I'm gonna, you know.
You have to do it with grace, right? Because you have to understand, like, they're trying to help you they're trying to,
you know, right. So a lot of times it comes from a, you know, good space. They're trying to help. But sometimes it doesn't. You know what I mean? Sometimes people are like, oh, well, what about this? What about, oh, why are you being so exclusive just to the Bronx? Because the Bronx doesn't have this. Like, what's the, because it's the Bronx. I'm the Bronx, you know what I mean?
So the shop was actually the home base. But this thing has gone way beyond that, and even international, because of your online presence, because of social media, because of the fact that you content create at what I consider to be one of the highest levels that I've seen, not just in the borough, but period. I mean, Bay Plaza, New York Yankees. Tell us some of the people you've worked with, and then let us know where you're going with the brand. Because I want all the young people out there who have a dream and an aspiration to see someone who just had a dream and aspiration, but how they actually made it happen. How far they can actually take it.
Yes. No, thank you so much, brother. Yes, man. We've been blessed to be able to work with so many incredible platforms, you know, local brands, local businesses. Collaboration has really, from the foundation, really been a big part of our brand. You know what I mean? I'm a firm believer that we need to work together. We are stronger together. And we all got to eat. We all got to win, you know what I mean? And we do that by coming together and putting all our powers together and really going out there and making it happen. But yeah, we've been able to work with, you know, recently we're heavily connected with TikTok. You already know, working with them, doing some incredible stuff. We were just in Puerto Rico with TikTok, working with them. I was just in their headquarters like a couple weeks ago as well. But we've been, you know, I guess blessed to be, you know, when it comes to Meta, Red Bull, Shake Shack, you know what I mean? You know, Bay Plaza, the malls at Marble Hill, all the businesses here in the neighborhood, right? When it comes to Misoneta, Charlie's, My Haven Bar and Grill, when it was here, and it's incredible, you know, to be acknowledged and to see these doors open up. You know, and sometimes I'm I just sit down and sometimes I'm in shock. I'm like, wow, I really just got that email. You know what I mean? Like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? And it's just like we're not actively at times just over. So of course sometimes we pitch. This and that, but a lot of these collaborations, a lot of these partnerships, that they're coming to us, right? They see what we've built, they see what we've done, and they come to us because we are one of the biggest Bronx pages for the Bronx by the Bronx. And when you combine that with incredible content creation and storytelling, with our platform, with our community, and just with our diversity, you know what I mean? When it comes to what we do, we got the shop, which is, fashion, community. We got recording studio, Tag Up Music. We have a screen printing shop where we print merch. We have our initiative, nonprofit, Change the Narrative, right? And we're tapping into all these different things, all these different genres, demographics. And that's really what the Bronx is a mixing pot of diversity. I like to say that the Bronx is a sancocho, right? You know what I mean? A sancocho got the plátano, la yuca, the carne, the pollo, you know what I mean? It got everything in there, you know what I mean? It's a mix, and that sancocho top tier, and it tastes phenomenal, right? And that is what the Bronx is. The Bronx is a sancocho, and that's what our brand is too, and that's why we tap into so many different things. And I feel like that's also why we've, in a way, been successful, because in a world where anything could happen, the pandemic, our shop is closed, right? This is going on, we can't use this. We've been able to pivot, and we've been able to adjust and tap into all these other pockets, right? Social media, partnerships, printing merch, collaborations, music, events, culture, So it's just it's been I like to call it a creative ecosystem, what we got going on, and it's a beautiful thing, man, and it's just gonna continue to get bigger, better, and from the Bronx to the world. You already.
Listen, brother, I want to thank you for coming on the show today, but before we leave, I need you to tell our audience where they can find you if they don't already know, and what you got coming next for them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You already know the vibes, man. Check us out. All social media platforms at the Bronx Native. Come by our physical space, 127 Lincoln Avenue, right here in the Boogie Down Bronx, Mott Haven. And yeah, man, we got a lot of things. Shop online, BronxNativeShop.com. You already. We got the holidays coming through. And yeah, man, we have a lot of incredible things coming up in the new year, 2026. I like to say, everyone remembers 2016 as the best year ever. Guess what? 2026, we playing that back, man. We have books coming out. We have documentaries coming out. We have pop-ups coming out. Incredible partnerships and collaborations. We're doing a bunch more community work, from food distributions, clothes drives, events, from our open mic series to festivals. So lock in, tap in. You already know the vibes, man. We here. Keep doing your thing, brother. And I'm excited to see what's to come. Let's get it. Yeah.
I gotta throw it in there too, because this man's energy, you can't feel it through the lens, but he definitely is living what he's preaching.
Love.
It's all love over here. The glass is absolutely half full. And as always, I just want to take the time to thank our guest, Amaurys, aka the Bronx Native, for coming out. But also thank you for tuning in. We're going to have all his information in the bio, all the links in the collaboration. So make sure that you go out and support what he's doing, support the Bronx, support what's next, because local business is the heartbeat, and that is what is going to help transform this neighborhood, not just the tall buildings and everybody that just passes by here, but actually the people that have roots and boots on the ground. So thank you as always for tuning in. Let's get it.